Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Open Mic with the MVP Marco. I am, of course, your host, the MVP Marco. And before I get to my next guest, obviously, I gotta do the plugs. I gotta plug the Pod Foundation, the greatest collection of podcasters, not even just wrestling podcasters, just podcasters in general, content creators. We get it locked on every single aspect of your life, literally every single day of the week. You can listen to us. You don't need to listen to any other podcasts out there or check out any other social medias. Just keep it locked into the Pod Foundation. Obviously, that's Chick Foley, the Chick Foley Show, with myself, Seth, Jordan, and Chick Foley herself, Sheena Phelps. Um, we also have coming down the aisle with J Bone. He's a great guy. I'm on a show with him. Actually, the next thing I'm going to say is the Turnbuckle Tavern. They're pretty much the ones that have a show every single week. We try to keep up with everybody, but they're the workhorses of the Pod Foundation. I'm also on their feed as well, the Raw Down, every Thursday at 8 o'clock p.m. EST, and then Friday we drop the audio of that. So definitely watch on Thursday, listen on Friday if you haven't gotten enough of this beautiful voice. I mean, if you haven't, that's totally fine. But if you have, I appreciate it. I appreciate all the support, whether it be positive, negative, what have you. But on to the last member of the Pod Foundation. That's Extra Cooler Nick, along with Matt in the Survivor Series team. They just came back from a hiatus. They have their new episode out. They cover, I believe it's Cactus Jack and Vader at Halloween Havoc. So definitely check that out. Go to at Pod Foundation on IG. That's where you get all the updates of everything that's happening with the Pod Foundation members. That's back up and running. It did take a hiatus as well, but just we'll pull the curtain. I ran that IG. Couldn't get in for some reason. Couldn't remember the password to it. You know how IG is with trying to figure out who you are and all that stuff. So kind of gave up and then tried out again. And guess what? We're back in. Now we'll be updated every week with all the happenings. So just go right to Pod Foundation on IG for all the updates. Now let's bring in my guest. My guest is actually a part of the Pod Foundation, specifically the Turnbuckle Tavern. And I call the Turnbuckle Tavern the workhorses of the Pod Foundation, but this individual in particular might be like the workhorse of the Turnbuckle Tavern and all of the Pod Foundation. If you want to put it that way, there's an argument for anyone else within the group, but this gentleman definitely puts in a lot of work on every single show that he's on. He does things outside of podcasting, and we'll definitely get to that. So let me bring in my guests for this evening, Acefield Retro. How are
What's
you,
up,
sir?
Marco? Thanks for having me on, dude.
Yeah, no problem, man. This is I was talking to you a little bit before this. This is definitely a one of my checklists. I try to get everybody in the Turnbuckle Tavern and the Pod Foundation. You were next in line. It's been long overdue.
Well, I appreciate the kind words on the intro, and likewise, the Pod Foundation wouldn't be what it is without all its equal parts. And just want to thank everybody for the support always. And I noticed the Pod Foundation Instagram's back up and popping. It's hard to keep everybody updated because, like you said, we have shows dropping multiple times a day, sometimes with everyone included. So.
Oh yeah, especially with like I said with the Turnbuckle Tavern and it seems like you have your staple, your main shows, your flagship shows. We kind of our shows are individually kind of creeping up there. I'm not saying the flagship show isn't it, but Brace for Impact, the Raw Down, they're creeping up in the Turnbuckle feed. So, but yeah, I mean you have that, you have Wrestling Tonight, you have Big Night, just everything. I mean, I'm waiting for hopefully Broken VCR comes back at some point. That'd be something to look forward to. And then obviously with the Chick Foley side of things, we're starting to do more shows like me. I have this show. Obviously, you have Seth and Jordan with the Pod Warriors, and now with the NFL season, the goal line going. So we just need Sheena to get need her to do a show that I'm not sure if not the Chick Foley show, but her own separate show. We'll see if we can get her to do it.
Yeah, just a separate of wrestling one. They can talk about life on the farm. I mean, that's always one of the more interesting parts of the chicky quickies that
Yeah.
they drop, and it's always a fantastic listen because I think everybody we're on such different places in the United States and even sometimes out of the country.
Yeah.
So everyone's bringing a different perspective to their wrestling fandom and otherwise. So it's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And like I said, you're the workhorse, like I say, of the Turnbuckle Tavern. You're on like multiple shows, obviously, but then if someone needs a hot tag to come into a show, you're definitely there. Like, how do you do you just love talking wrestling? Like, is this do you share that passion? Does it ever get boring to you? Like, what's going
I
on in
wouldn't
your
say
mind?
it's boring. I mean, there's times where, if it ever feels like it's a chore, it's because it's not as driven as conversation. My most fun I have on the shows is the shows that are really focused on whether it be a specific event, a specific
Mhm.
show. Like Shot Nostalgia is my favorite to do because of the fact
Yes.
it's so driven in context. And like, of course, I love the retro watch along, but it's also really fun to go back and dive deep into the newsletters and see the financials behind things and why decisions were made and kind of seeing the precursor. Like we're reading the newsletters from 1987 and seeing like the next newsletter we're about to drop when we do the show is about Kurt Hennig coming over to WWF and what that means and how much it's like hurting everybody else. So it's so cool to
Mhm.
see those names drop and like almost predict the future in hindsight. So, long story short, I do enjoy podcasting. It wouldn't be as fun without the guys that we do it with. I love working with Colton and Mike and Chad, of course, but everyone in the tavern and Pod Foundation is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And I was actually going to bring up Shaw Nostalgia because I do love the fact that you actually go back into and you like you said you read the business side of things depending on what the topic is and stuff like that and what that meant and it's almost like it's obviously it's not happening now, but it gives that feeling of like, something brand new. You're like, oh man, because now we have that, back then weren't really reading finance. I wasn't anyway. I was more interested in the product more than anything. But now when we're doing, podcasting and things like that, now you can go back and you can actually see the financials and see the business side of things and why they made these decisions. You can actually bring that into the the entertainment part of and I do love the fact that you do that. That's a piece I think is missing from a lot of wrestling podcasts besides the ones that are done by like the legends, but yeah,
Yeah, of
the
course. I
people
mean,
like us
building
doing it.
building the context is so huge for us. I mean, we could sit there and enjoy the product because we all some of the stuff we've already watched, and like I think the most recent episode we did was the precursor to WrestleMania 3, and everybody's
Mm,
familiar with that card. Obviously, Hogan and Andre and Ricky Steamboat
mhm.
versus Macho Man. We all enjoy the pomp and circumstance that happened at the Silverdome that night. But
Yep.
understanding the stuff that went on beforehand and how not guaranteed it was that Andre the Giant was even going to be able to compete that night, and
Yeah.
conversations in the newsletter about they're making contingency plans for that and that's something you don't consider. Obviously, Andre was beat up and he was at the end of the rope as far as competing goes. But looking at really them laying the map out for Paul Orndorff potentially getting that match in the main event and talking about the butterfly effect about what would have changed and is the business exactly where it was? Is it too dramatic to say that WWF is not where it is or WWE is not where it is because Andre didn't get slammed by Hogan? That's the type of
Mhm.
conversations I love having because if it's not right place, right time, we could be looking at a completely different business that we're all a fan of.
Yeah, definitely. Like the butterfly effect, as they call it, or just a ripple in time. If, like you said,
Yeah,
that never happens. That body slam doesn't. That's the thing that they show right at the beginning of all their,
exactly.
their product now. So like that's the staple of WWE. That slam. If that slam doesn't happen, yeah, you're right. Does WWE exist? Does wrestling exist? Are we still looking at territories?
Right.
Um, it will definitely. I definitely want to get into like it's not really territories, but now you're seeing like a lot of local wrestling organizations pop up. I started talking about a little bit on my show, chaotic wrestling. That's in my area. If you go on their website, they actually have they started an alumni page, and it's pretty insane the amount of people that came up or have wrestled in that organization. You have like MJF, Cody Rhodes, Sasha Banks. I think Kofi was in it at one time. Who those Carmelo Hayes, who was Casanova when he was before his name change and stuff. But like, do you see that? I mean, you're in the scene. We'll kind of skip to it. I'm gonna kind of skip ahead. You're kind of in that scene now. Do you see that as like a thing that's happening? Not really territories, but more local driven organizations that aren't like traveling, state lines. They're staying within that state and putting on shows. Like, it seems like every week on my end anyway. It seems like
Yeah.
there's a show literally every week or every other week. Is that the same? Do you see that happening?
I mean, definitely wrestling's in a boom period right now. Just to touch upon the Massachusetts area, to me, I mean, I worked a show a month and a half ago with Rad Pro Wrestling. I'll be working with them again coming up in a few weeks. But the Massachusetts area is a hotbed for professional wrestling, whether it be Wrestling Open, for Beyond, or even go to Maine with
Yep.
Limitless. They're just, I mean, the crowd is passionate. The talent is over the top talented. So that is an area that is a hotbed for people who are traveling from even New York, Jersey, elsewhere to get to that, in whether it be Worcester or elsewhere in that area,
Yep.
like Rad Pro ran out of Amesbury, but the crowd is just so passionate and they just
Yeah.
love wrestling. So, they're having Restival at the end of December. So they're going to have a 3-day festival of wrestling, which is a celebration. But as far as like wrestling goes, as far as you could find an independent show pretty much anywhere in
Yeah.
driving distance every single weekend, and sometimes multiple shows in a day. I think the underbelly of wrestling is very healthy. If you look at the talent
Yeah.
underneath, you could look at some of the talent you'd see in a local promotion. You go, 10 minutes from your house, there's some of the most talented guys that we're lucky as fans to have that right now. And I'm
Yep.
certainly lucky to work closely with some of the most talented guys on Long Island, New York. I mean, names that come to mind: Gabriel Sky, Tristan Ty, Desmond Cole, Dominic De Niro. These guys are like names that people are going to be hearing somewhere down the line. And like, you're getting to see them grow as performers, and just the level of talent compared to where it used to be. And I've been a wrestling fan for a long time, but seeing the access we have to really quality matches on a weekend basis is just fascinating to me. It's amazing to be. It's an amazing time to be a wrestling fan.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just to add on to that, it's definitely. I had Heel Liz on. Well, that episode didn't drop yet, so but it will soon. But we talked about she's running the like kind of like the SoCal area for for independent wrestling, and we talk in length about that, like her involvement and stuff like that. Being a referee in some of the matches, doing announcing, getting involved in some of the matches and stuff like that. And I know obviously you do a lot. Is that something that you would consider do? Are you gonna take a bump at any point? Do you think?
It's been discussed for sure. I was in the Rumble back in February where I was eliminated but untouched. I had to take the cowardly way out.
Yeah.
But it's definitely being discussed down the line. During practice, I've stepped foot in the ring. I'm not taking bumps at all, but the guys kind of are yearning for it. I think they've asked me to do things with me and want that to happen. But I'm going to be 35 years old this January. So I'm not sure if that's, that my time has passed as far as being an active competitor, but who's to say I won't take a bump and, be out cold for the rest of the night, because that's what the announcers do. You got to sell it like a champ.
Oh yeah, definitely. She the if you go to her page, Hail Liz, she actually took a light tube to somebody's head. So over like I asked her like how'd that go? Did they ask you to do it, or did they give you any tips? They were just like, no, do you want to do it? And I was like, yeah. And then I just went out there, and she's like, I try to be as careful as possible. Like if you see it, she just goes over the top. She doesn't like go across or anything.
Right.
But she said it was pretty gnarly seeing that happen. I was like, I never spoke to anyone that hit anybody else in the head with a light tube. So that was pretty crazy. But yeah, I see that. I mean, you do a lot of announcing and stuff like that. So I figured, maybe down the line you're gonna not strap on the boots and do like a 60-minute Broadway or anything like that. But like, do you ever get that feeling like when you're in ring doing the announcing? Like what's that rush feel like?
Well, I mean, so the biggest itch is to take a bump, like when they have the crash pad in the ring and all the guys are doing flips and springboards and things. I just want to get up there and do it. Then I'm like, I think twice and don't want to hurt myself. And but in the ring, the rush in front of the crowd, like when I first did it, I was nervous beyond belief. It was something that I just took a jump and decided to, reach out to Remarkable Wrestling. I reached out to a few schools just to see like if anyone's in need of a ring announcer. And by the way, they are. So if you guys are interested in doing something like that, referees, ring announcers, just interviewers, things like that, there's a need in pro wrestling for that. So if you're interested in any capacity, just take the jump 2 feet in and try to figure out how you can make it happen. But the first time I did it, I had just messaged a few, and Kono from Remarkable Wrestling got back to me. He's the one that runs the account. And he said, just show up to the school and you can have a tryout. So in front of all the guys, he gave me a rundown of these practice matches, and I had to just kind of show out. And then it would be a year probably for the next Halloween show. The first show I had, it's like the poster over my shoulder. for the Haunted Halloween Havoc event. That was my first event, and it was just kind of baptism by fire, figure it out. And over time, it's gotten better, but it's one of those things you don't know it until you try it. But there is a rush every time you step in for that ring. To me, it's a holy ground, really, for a wrestling fan to be there. And the ring that we work on in NYWC, well, that ring for my first show and a few shows that we ran, that's the original ring from ECW. That's the ring that they use in ECW. And that entrance ramp is from ECW, the original brick, because Mikey Whipwreck was influential in starting that school. So I'm really standing on hallowed spiritual ground.
That's insane. That's nerve wracking in itself. Just knowing that you kind of have like the presence or like kind of like the spirit of ECW.
For sure. I mean, there's a huge thing like this area of New York. There's a lot of influence from ECW and the fallout of where everybody went. And Mikey Whipwreck had such a huge influence on this scene, NYWC, and eventually what became what it is now and what they've turned out. They've turned out superstar after superstar, whether it be Cardona, Willow Nightingale recently. You can talk about Alex Reynolds and John Silver. So like NYWC continues to create stars, but you're right. I mean, looking at like when I first walked through, I had to touch the brick wall because I'm like, this is the original one. Everyone's like, what? But they have seen it. But for me, I was like, this is amazing.
That's crazy. It's history. You're touching right
for sure.
Whether it was like it is what it was. The impact that it had. I mean, it was a short run obviously for ECW, but just the impact it had on wrestling. That's definitely like you said. That's a sacred thing, that brick wall there.
Dude, I'm such a nerd too for that stuff. Like when I went to Fenway Park, I know you're familiar, you're a Sox fan, and Wrigley Field, like those things, if those walls could talk, I'm such a huge fan of just history leading buildings and just what they've seen. And my heart was broken when the Yankees tore down their, the original Yankee Stadium and that type of stuff. I mean, you can't replicate history, and that's like baseball's a huge thing for me as well, but history is huge for me, especially in all facets. And why would you erase that?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's J-Bone, when he traveled up here during the summer to see the Yankees are playing the Red Sox.
Yanks got smacked that day. I remember.
That's
12-1 or something.
We met up earlier, and like the restaurant we were at is on it's on Lansdowne Street. So like literally you're sitting at your table, and if you look out the window, you can see the wall, the Green Monster. Just like you can you see people sitting up there drinking and stuff like that. They're getting ready for the game. But he was pretty stoked that he got to actually see, and actually, enter the field and stuff like that. I'm like, be it whatever, whoever you are, like if you're a fan of, it doesn't matter. Like I want to go to Wrigley Field definitely at some point. Definitely want to go to Yankee Stadium. Just experience that type of thing. It doesn't matter like whatever rivalries and stuff like that. It's more or less like history, and be able to be like, I actually set foot in that place. That's all I really want to say.
Honestly, for me, it's a huge thing. Like I just think history, and we talk about this all the time on Wrestling Tonight about what WWE has over everybody. It's you can't replicate history. They have the benefit of being around for all these years where they can lean on their past and bring back legends and talk about the lineage of the Intercontinental Championship. It means something, but we were just talking about on Shot Nostalgia. We were talking about the tag team tournament that they did on a one-off as a Crockett Cup imitation called the Frank Tunney tournament. And it was this tag team tournament. It was supposed to be this thing that was lineage driven, and they want to keep it forever in 1987, and it never happened again. So I think about the same thing with the Owen Hart tournament. Like if 20 years from now, this might be the most prestigious tournament that we know. And right now people look at it as like, does it really mean anything? You get this fake belt, who cares? But like 20 years down the line, it might have all this prestige thinking about all that came before it. So it just takes time.
Yeah. I'm hoping that by that time, they, the WWE and, his family come to some term of agreement, and they can work with the AEW as well, if that's still the case. And they can, kind of bring, I think that's what, obviously, that's a piece that's missing. His career was in WWE.
True.
So that whole thing we're missing right now. Obviously, you can go to the Stampede and New Japan and all that stuff, but the core of his, fan base was WWE. And I'm hoping, like you said, if it is like, that tournament does become prestigious down the line, like maybe at some point they can, all work together and kind of give him his just due in that sense. So
it would be awesome down the line for wrestling to work together all together. And who knows with the new leadership team with, TKO, if they have a different mindset. Maybe they have a different mindset about looking at the business, but I think that's where wrestling's become the strongest, when different companies work together and lift each other
Yep.
up. And as long as there's not this insecurity that someone's going to put each other out of business. And I think over time, the Monday Night Wars have like PTSD for Vince McMahon. He doesn't
Yeah.
want to help anybody.
Yeah,
But I
that's
think
true.
wrestling, I mean, can you imagine a super show, what that would do for wrestling if you had this super show with all the major American promotions working together? It's a
Mm.
pipe dream. But to think about the dream matches of potentially Roman Reigns and Kenny Omega representing their brands, or it's just, that would be amazing. That would create another, you want to talk about a boom period, take it above that if WWE and AEW work together.
Yeah, like, and it doesn't have to be like a, it doesn't have to be like a multiple pay. It could be like a once a year thing. It could
Right.
be once every like 5 years they do it, like something where they can, obviously, because they need to plan and, make sure you're on the business side, they have to, do all that stuff. But that'd be crazy if they can actually, set something up where it's like one thing that they do like once a year, or like I said, by like every other year, or every 2 years, something where, just to give us fans that one that one moment of like you said, seeing their top star versus their top star. Because obviously with AEW, we get to see a lot of different dream matches and stuff like that. But obviously the real dream matches are the biggest stars from the two biggest companies essentially, like going at it. Like, man, a Seth Rollins versus like Will Ospreay, or
Yeah.
Seth Rollins versus like even Orange Cassidy might be crazy. Like, just to think of that as a wrestling fan is like insane. Like, I can't even like describe it. Like, it's it'd be pretty wild to see that happen. Hopefully, like you said, with the new management and stuff like that, it's they take a different approach when it comes to
But for
working
now,
with
we'll get
other
to enjoy
companies.
AEW and Impact working together, Impact and New
Yep.
Japan working together. And I
Yep.
think the inroads of wrestling realize that, it's cliche, but a rising tide lifts all ships, and WWE can help more than hurt anybody. I think they're too big to sink at this point. They're at this point, they're at the top of the heap looking down on everybody, and they already have guaranteed money with this TV deal coming in and all the
Yeah.
broadcasting rights. So why not help the wrestling business at large?
Yeah. I'll say this. I mean, the wildest thing that I seen on WWE television was Chris Jericho on Broken Skull Sessions
Right.
when he was
Yeah.
in it. He signed AEW. He had an AEW. He had a book at the time. I have it, and he, on the cover of the book, they show the cover. He's holding the AEW World Championship, and that was like that right there. I think like Jericho, Christian, those guys can be that, like they could be that bridge
Yeah.
between WWE and. But I think they're in the. I mean, for Jericho anyway, it seems like he's in the sense of like, you know, team AEW, let's get them to where they need to be. And then I think when he feels like he's at a point where he can, reach back and like kind of, bridge that gap between I think it's a possibility. I think he's that guy to do it personally. I think Jericho is that guy that can go, let's make this happen. Talk to Tony, talk to whoever about Triple H, whoever's going to be in charge down the line, and I think he can make it happen, man.
Well,
I don't
people
know.
with larger conflicts have made it work. I mean, there's
Yep.
inroads throughout the 80s and 90s and 2000s where there's promotions that hate each other working together. And we saw this, like, All Together Now show with all Japanese promotions,
Yep.
Pro Wrestling Noah, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and All Japan working together. And they historically don't like each other. So they made it work.
Yeah.
So I think WWE and AEW eventually, not saying next year, but within the next 5-10 years, I think it's a possibility more so than ever.
Yeah. Let's switch gears. No Cell Studios. Before I forget, I want to
Mhm.
learn more about this because I seen that obviously it's in your bio. Um, where did this come from? Where did it start? How'd you get the plan going for this?
So paired with my responsibilities as ring announcing with Remarkable and the opportunity to do all the stuff I do with them behind the scenes, I make the graphics for the match card for Remarkable Wrestling. And I wanted to have a subsidiary of something else where I could kind of put my stamp on making graphics for whether it be podcasters or other wrestling promotions. So No Cell Studio became that. And I named, where I podcast No Cell Studio tongue in cheek to do the intro, saying live from
Yeah.
No Cell Studios. It's Acefield Tavern, Acefield Retro, just to have a place, a home. I just think that it's really awesome to have, a spot that you call. And I just like the No Cell Studios. And really the name came from my cat Don, who would stay in this room with me while I podcast. He was an older cat, so he wanted to be by me all the time.
Yeah.
And he would jump on my lap, and I'd be wearing shorts, and he would grip his nails on my legs.
Oh my
And my
god.
girlfriend would say, you always no sell it. And I was like, yeah, it's because he would like literally scratch me up while he's laying on me. And it's like the no sell studio. And it just came to me like that. But it's about the graphics really. And I have a price sheet on my Instagram at No Sell Studio. So if anyone is interested in whether it be podcast graphics, I do a lot of the podcasting graphics for Turnbuckle Tavern. For the only one I don't make in the show I do is Wrestling Tonight, which Chad takes over. He's so great at that.
Yeah.
I do Brace for Impact. I also do the Shot Nostalgia one. I was making the AEW wrap up one. I've made graphics for other podcasters that's reached out. It's affordable pricing. So if you're looking to, bring some pizzazz or make a new logo, definitely not Nick from Extra Cooler, but I'm, definitely able to do some awesome stuff. But Nick is next level. He's like where, that's the Roman Reigns of graphic design.
Yeah, I seen that. I seen that he posted that he did a new graphic for you there. That was pretty awesome. How he's amazing with like he has different like art styles.
Yeah,
like you never know if it's him or not. Like I seen it at quick glance. I'm like, oh, and then I seen that he posted. I was like, that does not look like he doesn't have like a signature style. Like he could do literally anything, which is insane.
Yeah, so I gave him the quick turnaround, by the way. If you guys are looking to get something done by Extra Cooler, reach out to him. I'm not sure what his books look like for the rest of the fall and the winter, but shoot your shot because that dude is the best. I mean, if you want a shirt that has, being co-signed by FTR, who rocks his gear and all that. But the turnaround, I was so quick. I had this idea because I have the show in Massachusetts coming up on 10/21, and I do these, Victory Pro Wrestling. They're nice enough to let me do the media tables there to give out stickers and sell things there for promotion of the tavern and Acefield Retro, the brand. But I wanted to have a shirt, and everyone keeps asking, can you print shirts? I'll buy a shirt. And that's something that has been asked at these merch tables. And I didn't want to just print the Acefield Retro logo on it. I feel like I wanted something special. So I wanted to put the small logo on the pocket, which is Acefield Retro. And I took away the wrestling podcast thing because Acefield Retro is just more than that now for me. And I put the logo on the back. So I'm going to be selling those at any live event you guys find me at, $20 within reason, black shirt with the cool design. And I think it looks awesome. I mean, I got some good feedback and Nick crushes it always.
Oh yeah, definitely. I might reach out to him to do some updates on the on my logos, the MVP one and open mic. Definitely very thankful for the Chads giving me that. That was awesome that they actually gave me a logo first and foremost, and then they helped me out with the open mic logo, which was pretty awesome as well. But I didn't know that you did the graphic work for that organization. That's pretty wild. Is that something that did you offer that? Did they ask you to do it? Like,
so the person that was doing it, I think, was backlogged on something we're doing, and they needed a quick turnaround. And I just mentioned to Kono, hey, I could make graphics if you want me to. I make the graphics for some of these shows, and he said, all right, practice making something. So the first one I did, I believe, was for Danger Zone, but he loved it. And then now I've been making the logos. I did a SummerSlam 97 inspired show for Space of the Place this summer. So I actually completely duplicated the whole poster with, instead of putting Taker in the background, I put, the big boofa Desmond Cole looming over Gabriel Sky, who's playing the role of Bret Hart there. And just, he gives me the freedom to do that stuff. And that's what I feel like I thrive doing that type of stuff, that I can be creative, for the February show we did the War Games match. He let me do the Survivor Series 2002 type of feel with all the boxes for the Elimination Chamber. Awesome. But it was out of a need, and like the creativity he allows me to do it. Now it's like free reign. Like he texts me and says, I need these posters. And I think he appreciates the quick turnaround because like I'll do it within a day. Like if he needs a change, because as independent wrestling goes, someone pulls out, someone gets sick, something changes, and you need to have that quick turnaround for these match graphics because it's so important to hype up the shows. And if you don't have accurate graphics, then you're kind of lost in the sauce, and you want to make sure you're advertising over and over again to get people in the door.
I was going to say kind of answer my question. Like as far as like, how long does that take? Is it a process that you have to go through to get these done? Like you said, it's a quick turnaround, but obviously what's the time frame for doing something like that?
So I try to get in advance. So I have the calendar of events I know coming up. So I've been working on the Halloween poster for quite some time. It's going to be based on an old WCW poster. So you guys can check that out once it posts at remarkable_wrestling. But it could probably take me, 3-4 days to really like craft the poster out together. And then what I mean by quick turnaround is if someone pulls out of the show, I pretty much have high resolution photos of everyone that could potentially be involved. If not, I could just Google it off their Instagram or whatever and pop them in quick and send it right over. This way they can be updated. So it could take upwards of a week, and then it's always a work in progress. This match gets announced. This person's now coming to the show. The time changes, the venue like anything that can change. Got to make sure you have that document as a living document because it's never set in stone. It never is.
That's true. I mean, subjects may change.
100%.
Yeah,
hard subject to change for sure.
Yeah, so it does happen. So yeah, no, that's awesome that they have you to reach out to. Does the other person still do the graphics for it, or did you just completely take over?
Well, he does the graphics for his own promotion. Like I don't think. I mean, it kind of took it off his plate, but it's similar to the ring announcing, the refereeing, and the other backstage type of stuff. There's a need for that in pro wrestling. Like if you are looking to help out at your local indie, like just show up and help set up the ring or ask how you could help. They always need an extra set of hands. So if you're looking to get involved in the business in some way, just show up and reach out. Like, I mean, it's one of the more welcoming type of work that I've ever seen. Everyone has been fantastic. And it's family. Like the Remarkable Wrestling crew is family to me. And they're just, I've been working with them for a year now. They welcomed me with open arms, and the growth that I've seen in them and hopefully they've seen in me has been immense.
Yeah, definitely. I was actually, that's a funny thing that you brought that up because Justin, the Wrestling Classic, brought that up on our show. I think towards the end of the show, we started talking about like, how he got into, meeting people and stuff like that. And he said that was one of the things he would, local wrestling promotions, he would reach out, make friends with those guys, interview them, do backstage interviews, what have you. Just like he said, that's probably the best way to, get into it is, talking to your local, wrestling promoters. You might not have to, be a referee or, do something, but you can, promote for them on your
100%.
IG. You can have them on like, if I ever reach out to like Chaotic Wrestling, I can, say, hey, I'm looking to, I can promote you, you can promote me or whatever. And I can have your guys and gals on my show. We could do like, I have a show called Open Mic. We can do one-on-one interviews, that type of stuff. So like he said, there is ways to do it. And you just like you said, you just got to go out and do it. He said, like you said, they're more than welcome to help out because, they need as much promotion as anybody.
And the biggest thing is reliability too. Just making sure that you're always there when you say you're going to do it, or if whatever you say you're going to do, you do.
Yes.
That's, that's every field of work, being reliable and consistent, but more so in wrestling, where if you are showing up, being on time, being prompt is one of the best attributes you could have. And I've recognized that that's something that goes a long way. Where I say I'm going to be somewhere, that's where I'm going to be.
Yeah, definitely. Let me go to, actually, we'll skip to not really the beginning, but we'll go with the Turnbuckle Tavern. How did you get hooked up with the Two Bad Chads?
So my original podcast, so I started doing the Acefield Retro podcast, which was predominantly going to be review shows of AEW, WWE, the typical run-of-the-mill wrestling podcast on my own, going out there in the wilderness. And I linked up with J-Bone, did Coming Down the Aisle. Him and I did the show, so he was nice enough to have me on as a relative unknown. And then based on that, he recommended me to do the debate. And then from there, it was a jump off. I was already following the Tavern, but as you know, like it kind of takes a little bit of getting to know everybody before they allow you into the fold. Like I think with the Turnbuckle Tavern, they want to kind of make sure you're vetted. And I think the Turnbuckle debate, even though it wasn't intentioned to be this tryout for people to eventually come into the Tavern fold, you do kind of sort out some people that you work well together. And that really, the first show I did with Sneed, Chad, and Tom, and we kept in touch after that. It was a few months before they pitched Honor Society to me to do the ROH show with Tony buying Ring of Honor. And then, obviously didn't pan out to the way we wanted to. They were just having it on AEW. So it was kind of this one thing I was like, man, I'm getting sick of doing Honor Society because it's just Ring of Honor being piecemeal conversation. I'd rather do something more meaningful. And that's where Shot Nostalgia kind of birthed from. Cause I was like, I want to do something that's, it's tangible. I could sink my teeth into, and there's nothing more than Shot Nostalgia is definitely, when you pick the topic, you dive deep into it.
Yeah, definitely. So after, you did the Turnbuckle debates and all that stuff, and where did you pitch, like, when did you pitch, like, doing your own thing. Did they ask you to like start doing shows for them, or was it something that you brought to them?
So Chad reached out to me and said they had this idea for this Ring of Honor show because again, Tony just bought it. So he thought it'd be a great idea. So the original concept was myself, Freems, and Sneed. So starting,
Mhm.
I think it was Thursday evenings, we were going to do, or yeah, Thursday because the Raw Down was on Tuesday at that point.
Yep.
So Thursday evenings we were doing Honor Society, and like I said, the content became too thin because we were waiting for them to launch the show. It never really happened. So what we were doing is tying in the history of Ring of Honor, and then it just became like pulling teeth to find news, like piecemealing things out, having
Yeah.
discussions of like, would Luchasaurus be a good fit on Ring of Honor, or like, could you pull this? It just became,
Yeah.
it wasn't great. So then Shot of Nostalgia came from, and I had mentioned Chad, and I think I had earned enough, trust at that point because Honor Side was already going for I think about 15 weeks or so, or more than that. And I had said to him, I had this idea for this retro show. And I remember in the advertisement on the flagship where they, right before they go to Call the Hawk, it says, even a shot in nostalgia. They have said that on the ad. And I got the name from that because what's better in a tavern than a shot in nostalgia? And I pitched the WCW 1996 idea. He loved it. And obviously Bellcaster, I had worked with on the debate, but then also worked with him on the AEW wrap-up show here and there. So I felt like he would have been the perfect dance partner for it. And off to the races. We're in the 5th season of like almost 100 episodes in.
That's insane.
Yeah.
What's your favorite? That's kind of hard to ask. What's the show you like doing the most out of all the shows you do for Turnbuckle Tavern?
It's probably shot in nostalgia just because of the creativity, and I'm really guiding the ship of where it goes in the conversation because it's not only just fact driven what we thought of the matches, what the newsletter was saying, and what was happening around that time. It's also asking these hypothetical butterfly effect conversations to Colton's on the show now, or just to Mike about
Yep.
how did he feel about this? How do I think this would have changed? Comparing it to modern day product. I just like that very abstract conversation that comes from history because it's amazing to me how much everyone forgets that everything that's happened in wrestling pretty much has happened before. And I think
Yep.
as time continues, we continue to see history repeat itself. And that's the same thing in a lot of different aspects of life. But wrestling is you could definitely predict the future by reading the past and understanding where things are or as where they used to be.
Yeah.
But Sean Nostalgia is a lot of fun. It really is a lot of work, but a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's I only ask that because everyone does so many, different shows now. Like at the beginning, it was like, I was only doing the Chick Foley show, and obviously Seth and Jordan, obviously they were just doing that as well. And then like as you go along, like you kind of like I love doing the Chick Foley show, like when we do it, like because we obviously broke it down to like when there's like big pay-per-views. If like these shows that we do are like the weekly shows, when we
Right.
do the Chick Foley show, I take it as like the pay-per-view. Essentially, that's the
Right.
that's how I look at it anyway. Now it's like the main event, and then and that's when Sheena, if you want to make her the equivalent to like a Roman or a Hogan or something like that, that's when
Right.
you see her. You see her. She
True.
makes her appearance during the pay-per-views. But and I do love doing the Raw Down. I do love doing this show, but I can't really pick one that I love doing the most. That's the hardest thing because I obviously love talking to J Bone and Young Anthony when he decides to show up.
I just want
Not
to give a
really.
shout out to Chad for wrestling tonight because that shows such a unique dynamic where really I can't picture anybody else doing that with the hard work that he puts into the
Yeah.
overlays and just the preemptive work that goes into the research that's ever changing. That the news cycle changes. Sometimes the big 3 stories change. If
Yep.
something huge drops, like we had the releases, we're going to drop the episode. I'm not sure when this drops, but on every Monday we drop the episode on video form, and then Tuesday morning in audio form. And the other thing is just it's ever changing. It keeps me up to date. So it's like one of these things where I'm internalizing the information as we talk about it. So it keeps me as a more intelligent wrestling fan just by proxy
Yep.
of talking about it. But Chad does such a great job, and we've been working together for almost the full year. We just dropped almost our 40th episode, and it's been so much fun doing that. And working with him is a blast. And the guy has a drive and a vision of what he wants the tavern to be, and you could see it.
Yep.
He
Yeah.
sees it further along than everybody else. And I think where the tavern is going is, based on the vision of the Two Bad Chads and just everyone kind of working hard around it.
Yeah. I'm still kind of shocked that I'm still a part of the the tavern feed. I thought it was gonna be like a a quick stint, like I was gonna be like doing the Chick-fil-A show and then have me do a couple of shows on the tavern. But now it's just when I got the the message from J Bone saying, "Hey, I'm thinking of when we do the raw down, I want you to be like the third person." And I was like, "Oh, we get it." I was like, he's like, "Oh, I already asked Sheena. She said it's fine." And that was around the time we started like scaling back the shows anyway. So it's like, whatever. And I'm not like, oh, screw that. I'm not doing their show anymore. I'm fully Turnbuckle Tavern all the way,
Right.
man. But
Well,
I'm
you
like
guys are
kind of
almost at
like,
100 episodes, dude. That's an accomplishment for
yeah,
sure.
this upcoming Thursday will be 100 episodes of the Raw Down, which is pretty insane. So I've been a part of 100 episodes of Chick-fil-A show and now 100 episodes of the Raw Down, which is pretty wild to even think of. But yeah, no, like you said, you can tell like both Chads, man, they definitely have a vision. And they definitely have a path on where they want to go with this. They've kind of said it, to us, like privately in our group chats and in the the meeting that we had and stuff like that. But so we won't give anything away. But they definitely do have a vision for it, and
Right.
I'm happy that I'm like I said, I'm I'm a part. I'm happy to be a part of the ride as long as they'll have me on here, and as long as they'll
Dude, you're a
have
huge, you're
have
such a
you.
huge part. The raw down. I was just talking to Chad about this. I mean, 100 episodes is nothing to scoff at because most podcasts don't make it to 25, and you guys made it to 100
Exactly.
and onwards, and you guys continue to crush it. You are literally like no joke. It is my source of WWE. I listen to the raw down every week on audio. If I can catch it on video, I do. But that's how I stay abreast of what's going on in WWE because I wasn't watching it for a consistent amount of time. Now it's gotten better. I do watch it, but I like to
Yeah.
hear your thoughts on it. It's become sort of this routine where I make sure I check it out to make sure I hear what you guys think about what's going on because I consider you guys the experts on WWE.
Yeah, we do. We obviously we reference Wrestling Tonight as well because myself and J Bone we definitely watch it, and we I try not to I try to actually let me ask you this question because I'm probably not the only person. Do you listen to anything that would persuade your thoughts on anything? Like, do you listen to like you know obviously, if we listen to Wrestling Tonight, we J-Mo will reference it, be like, "Oh, Ace said something great on here." And he'll like say what it. So he won't like take your idea and be like, "Hey, I came up with this." He'll
Right.
reference it. But like, do you feel like if you listen to something else and then when you come on to do your show, you're like those thoughts bleed into yours? Because I don't like listening to anything really that I do personally. But
Right. It's challenging because you're right. I think inherently you're going to find like a voice that's convincing to you, and Chad happens to be one of the more convincing voices that he could, as Bellcaster says, sell
yep,
a popsicle filled with ketchup to a girl wearing white gloves or whatever the hell he says. But I like to listen to varying thoughts, so I'll find myself listening on a weekly basis. I'll listen to the Jim Cornette Experience or the Drive Through to
yeah, I
get
listen
what
to
he
him
thinks
too.
on things, and I'll also listen to Wrestling Observer Radio with Meltzer and Brian Alvarez, or I'll listen to Figure Four Daily with Lance Storm and Brian Alvarez to get this scope of ideas. And yeah, I guess inherently you're going to find thoughts that bleed in, as you said, that
Yeah,
kind of influence you. But I think if you do research that is eclectic and you take in varying mindsets from other people that you're inherent, I just disagree with a lot of stuff that Jim Cornette says. I respect what he says about
yeah,
the wrestling business, but I listen to it to make sure I have the other side of the aisle and understand what he's saying because I think he usually is on the complete opposite side of Meltzer. They're on complete sides.
oh
And
yeah,
so,
oh yeah, definitely.
so listening to, and also the tavern, listen to everyone here. And that's what makes the debate so good too, because it's such and even Rowdown, you guys have such different takes on what is going on in the product that at the very least, it makes you think about it. And then you come out of it with your own opinion.
Yeah, yeah, that's if you heard like and we obviously when young Anthony was on there with us, we like not that he's gone forever, but when he was on there, it's like you have three personalities. You have young who's the youngest out of obviously everybody, so
Right.
he has his own take of wrestling as he's seen it when he grew up, and then you have myself and J Bone who's kind of around the same age where we've seen pretty much like everything even way before Anthony. So like I love Anthony's takes because obviously he's younger than us and he has a very
Oh,
different
yeah.
perspective of what we see. And we all have our own varying perspectives and we all like I said, we'll kind of go back and forth on things and then I'll be like I'll listen, I'll be like, oh yeah, you might be all right, okay, you're right about that. We never like get into like full blown like Skip and Shannon type of fights or anything like that. But
It'd make
it's
good radio, but I think everyone's at least somewhere near. I mean, we're all near like what we all think, and I think we're always at the point where I have an open mind to be convinced otherwise. Like I try my best to always think of it from the other side. Like the most passionate I've been about topics was the CM Punk stuff, and I found myself like I have to step away from it and see it from a different varying perspective, and that's why Bellcaster and I would have these offline conversations about it, because he felt strongly the other way, and that's why we need to have conversations about, with other wrestling opinions and not get, upset or offended. Like I think people across all different domains could have a lot of, you can make a lot of good by having a conversation with someone that just disagrees with you.
Yeah, and I kind of talked to Wrestling Classic about we kind of talked a little bit about CM Punk. Well, the situation anyway, not really him, but like just my thoughts on it were, you have that saying, you have your side, my side, and then the truth.
Right.
We're only hearing your side. We're not hearing my side or the truth there. We are not hearing, we're not hearing the Bucks and Kenny and what they think. All we're hearing is the horror stories of CM Punk.
Mm-hmm.
But then and then you see like the stories of like other people in the back saying, "Hey, he was great to me. He, took me aside, talked to me, blah blah." Like, so you don't really get to, like Hobbs, I think, came out and said that. Like he said CM Punk was great to him. Like, so it's like, is he really this awful dude that people are saying, or is it just he already has that stigma about him, and it's just even worse now because you only hear, like I said, one side, not all sides.
100%. And the
So,
truth, we'll never know the truth, because the truth is also blurred with people's perspectives and
Mhm.
agendas. Like there's also that baked into all of it. But I'm especially doing wrestling time. I'm happy it's done. Like I was sick of having
Oh
that as
yeah,
a top 3 conversation every time we're out there. And it becomes exhausting, because I'd rather talk about the in-ring stuff, like
yeah.
previewing Wrestle Dream, previewing the stuff coming up with Survivor Series eventually and Fastlane. Like I'd rather talk about the in-ring stuff rather than the stuff behind the scenes, because it's a he said, she said battle.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And we talk about it too on the Raw Down when every time Vince McMahon pops up, there's always seems to be news. Every Thursday when we get ready to do the show, we have our our set things that we want to talk about, but then like some news will break right before the show about
Yeah,
something happens.
exactly.
Like, God damn it, do we have to talk about Vince McMahon again? And then we kind of have those back and forth conversations. Like, should we even bring it up? Should we, like, depending on the severity of the story, we'll probably bring it up. Like the TKO stuff. Yeah, we talked about it because it's it's more than him. It's
Right.
literally like the end of it's the end of an era. It's the beginning of a new
Yep.
thing going forward with the WWE. Like seeing how they're gonna what it's gonna look like. Like they're looking at, like I said, they might be doing title changes at some point. They might be adding weight divisions. They might be they calling it like a TKO weekend where they're gonna do like UFC WWE pay-per-views back to back. That's
Right.
it. So there's some exciting things happening, but what happens when the exciting things happen and you get a thing about, oh, now Vince McMahon's like
New
they want
allegations,
to
who's
oust him. There's
stepping
more
down.
allegations
Yep.
coming. It's like you try to escape it, but sometimes you really can't escape the and I always say, like, when we talk about it, I'm not a business major. I'm not like any type of professional or anything like that. We're just giving our own opinions on things, so we don't go too deep into it. But it is disheartening when you have to, like, you want to talk about the product. And just like Sam Roberts says, well, he has it on the back of his watch the product. That's it. Just watch. Don't worry about the outside stuff. Don't worry about whose TV ratings are bigger than the others and
Right.
what demographic is. Just focus on the in-ring content, and then that should be able to, like, that should be able to bleed out and give you your own opinion on things.
No one hates wrestling more than wrestling fans. We all know that.
Oh yeah, no, dude, yeah, it's like you ever see those comments like on like Twitter and maybe mainly on Twitter, we'll say, um, where it'll be just fans in general, like sports fans, like talking amongst themselves, or and they'll talk about wrestling fans of how crazy wrestling fans are. Like it's like we're known, like wrestling fans are known from other sports, because it's like I'm not sure if we're more toxic or less toxic, or more tribal in a sense. Sports, you have your own team that you love and all that stuff, but it seems like we have a reputation out there as wrestling fans amongst other sports,
which is
and their
why I
fans
just
as
stay
well.
away from the comments on social media. If I post like a reel or something that, reels are how you grow your Instagram, but like I like to post the clips and things, and some of them get over 2 million views if you post the right thing. And
Oh yeah,
there's comments is littered on there. I just refuse to read them because someone is saying something that is ridiculous. It's baiting.
yeah,
It wants someone to, they're trying to initiate an argument. Same thing with Twitter. I just try, or X, what they call it now. I'm trying my best to stay away from that and just, like you said, watch the product and consume it in our ways. Listen to people that I respect or that I
yep.
think has value in their opinion, not just reading some person with a no profile picture.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, actually, we'll kind of, now that we're on the topic with social media, do you obviously used in a good way, do you feel it can, do you feel it's benefiting you personally with you and your brand, and expanding it and stuff like that? Minus like the negative part of it, but do you feel like it's detrimental to you, um, you know, getting yourself out there?
No, I think it definitely is the vehicle to get my name known there, and that's how I might, the ring announcing stuff has started. That's how I reached out to Kona Remarkable Wrestling.
Mm.
That's how I continue to post things that hype me up. And like every time I do a show, I try to make a habit out of taking a picture with whatever jacket I'm wearing, posting a clip of the ring announcing, and that's how you get further bookings. That's how I started working
Yep.
with Rad Pro Wrestling. They were able to see my work as like almost a demo tape for me to travel out to Massachusetts. And yeah, social media has been really a gift for me, and making sure you utilize it appropriately and follow the people you want to follow and sort of block out the negativity and don't engage. Because I think a lot of the negativity is you could avoid it. Like if you like, obviously you post something on there, you have to expect people are going to have differing
Yep.
opinions. I'll post tweets, I'll post memes, I'll post whatever. I just don't engage the comments. I let them kind of just sort themselves out. I post it and walk away. And I think what Chad said, you post and ghost. That's what the tavern does. Very rarely does a tavern reply to something on there. And I think with notoriety comes, toxicity, and people are going to get involved. Like if you have tavern has 11,000 followers, there's going to be people that
Yep.
get an eye on what we post, and it winds up being something that they disagree with, and they're going to be negative, and they're going to say negative things about what we say. It just comes with the territory.
Yeah, definitely. And I used to do that, like, on Sheena's page when she would like post something, and I would go like in the comments and stuff like that, because normally, they automatically attack on most things, but I kind of pick and choose. If I am gonna do, I haven't done like any, responded to any comments in a while, but when I do, I usually pick and choose like which ones I know I can kind of make mad. That's I'll
Yeah.
just read the comment and go, oh, this is easy, and I'll just like put something that I don't even like really, I don't believe in at all. I just put the opposite of what they're saying because I know it's just gonna, piss them off. And then
Right.
I'll just like play dumb the whole, back and forth and all that stuff. And like I said, I haven't done it in a while. Um, but I rarely do it. I just, like you said, post and go. Just you post something and you just let it. Same thing with these shows. I don't read any of the like I'll see some of the reviews and stuff like that. But other than that, I just do the show, hand it over to Seth and they post it. And I don't, obviously I thank everyone for the support and stuff like that. If they, they are listening for the first time, last time, long time, whatever they're doing. But other than that, comments don't really get you anywhere. It's just someone just, putting words down and they just sit there. They don't motivate or anything like that.
Yeah, and the same thing too. Like I realize that being someone that is trying to get their name out there as a podcaster, also a ring announcer, and some level of a personality that is on IWTV or on Turnbuckle Tavern, there's going to be people that seek that out, and that almost attracts haters or whatever. Just I do my
Yep.
best to put the blinders on and don't engage, because it's not worth it. And I have my eye set on the goal, and whatever that goal might be. I don't want to let other people's negativity flood into because to me, my mental space is for me. I don't want that invaded by negativity of some person I don't even know.
Yeah, definitely. Um, let's go back. Let's even go back even further. Um, the beginning of Acefield Retro. Where did your, love and passion start with wrestling? Was it watching it? Was it collecting stuff? Who got you into it? How did everything come about for you with this love for professional wrestling?
So it feels like wrestling's always been a part of my life, and it's something I never grew out of. So my earliest memories is the early '90s. 1, 2, 3 Kid, Bret Hart, those New York Raws, those types of things stick in my head. And I think of, the Undertaker, like that stuck in my head. And he's still to this day one of my favorites of all time. But when I really became just die hard, where I'm initiating it by myself, it's during the Attitude Era, 97, 98,
Yep.
where I'm watching every night on Raw. I'm living and dying what's happening on the other channel as well. But obviously, even at that time, I preferred WWF over WCW. And now looking back, they were both doing really good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was very passionate about wrestling from a young age, and it paired with the wrestling figures too. I was collecting all the Bone Crunchers, and I had Hasbro's growing up, and you can see me behind me. I have all the Hasbro's behind me, and
Yep.
I pick and choose what I buy now. I love the new Superstars line. I love the way that they have the Remco type of articulation. I love
awesome.
that. But yeah, wrestling's always been a part of my friend groups as well. Like all my friends were diehard wrestling fans to the point where some of my closest friends we first met doing backyard wrestling on a trampoline. Like that's really how like we first started hanging out, and we would just like book these cards, and we have all these different characters and these championship, and we put it on a videotape. And after spending a day on the trampoline or in the backyard building our ring and wrestling, we would like get together, order pizza, and then watch the event, which is just
that's awesome.
And then also that's paired with watching Raw and SmackDown. So it was like all consuming pro wrestling. It just became, one of my only things I enjoyed. And like, obviously I love sports and stuff, but nothing's really top pro wrestling ever. There's been ebbs and flows in my fandom. As far as when I'm most passionate, I look back like 2011 to like 2013 is probably my least favorite time. I was student teaching. I was busy. I still was keeping up with the product, but I wasn't as in depth with what was going on. And I look at 2014 with Daniel Bryan's rise up the card in the main eventing, that like reignited the fire. Yep. And of course, when AEW came along, it just like lit that fuse, and I'm back, So it's been a part of my life for a very long time.
Who was there anyone in particular that showed you wrestling, or
I think it was my brother, my older brother, who no longer is a fan. He's familiar with the product, but he was diehard during the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
My brother Jimmy he doesn't watch anymore, but he was the one who showed me, and I just kind of took the hobby and ran with it. But he was very much into it, watching the pay-per-views and watching Raw with me. And like I said, he keeps up with the product a little bit now and knows some of the guys, but doesn't watch it on a weekly basis. He would be what we call a lapse fan for sure. I think he watched Mania last year. So he's always my gauge of what the casual fan or former fan knows. Like I'll text him like, hey, do you know this? Or whatever, just to see like what that person would think, if someone who's diehard watching during Stone Cold's rise at the top, and sometimes he surprised me what he doesn't know. Cause like in our bubble, we think Roman Reigns is this biggest thing. And sometimes like we're just so in our bubble that we don't realize that it doesn't reach that level yet.
Yeah. It is weird too. Cause like, well, just to pivot off it with the Roman Reigns thing, like you'll see like, obviously like athletes, like, a lot of them watch wrestling and stuff like that. So like you'll see them do like the ones, you'll see like, on those, the pre-shows, they'll say like, they'll do like the acknowledge me phrase and all that stuff. And so it's there, but it's like you said, it's kind of still in a bubble where it's not there. It's amongst sports and athletes and things like that really take hold of it. Like you said, with mainstream, I'm not sure if it's really there yet as far as with Roman Reigns anyway.
Yeah, it's not to say it won't get there. I mean, The Rock is next level. Like with The Rock coming back, a conversation I had in wrestling tonight was like, should he be the main event at WrestleMania? Or like, what does it do to the product after the fact? Like I personally, being a diehard fan in the bubble, think it should be Cody's spot. But I also understand the impact. Like this is a dude who hypothetically could run for president. Like we haven't really had a situation like this ever. A star as big as The Rock, in my opinion, he might be the biggest star in wrestling history just because he transcends Hogan. He transcends all. Like he's a different stratosphere. So we're dealing with a situation that it's not just a part-timer coming back. It's someone who's larger than the business, like, and that's sort of the conversation you have to weigh out of nearsighted. It is definitely the choice. It's going to make the most buzz in the immediate, but down the line, it probably has a detriment to the product 5-10 years from now, because you stunt Cody's growth and maybe Cody never gets the level he could have gotten to.
Yeah, I mean, if you listen to Raw down last week, my thoughts.
Sure.
I was pretty sour on the. Do love The Rock, love that he came back and all that stuff, but with the course it's going now, with like them building these stars now, like obviously they're not like super young guys. Like Cody's not a young guy. I mean, he is young. Jey Uso, like that type. Like these guys are like these guys are like they're the faces of Raw now. And then you have SmackDown where it's kind of nostalgic with like, John Cena's back, and then you have The Rock come back and stuff like that. Roman hasn't been on TV really, but like,
One defense in 125 days, I just saw.
yeah, so like, it would be, on paper, yes, biggest WrestleMania match in history. They say it every single year, but literally, The Rock coming back and facing, a guy that hasn't been, he has been beaten, but hasn't lost a championship in 3 years.
Right.
That's pretty monumental. But like I said, if you want to hear my thoughts, definitely go on Raw Down. I was not too happy with The Rock's return on the wrestling level. Anyway, like you said, on the me being a mark, I wasn't really very
No, I
happy
agree
with.
I agreed 100% what you're saying, but like going back to the original, like the question you had said before we veered off was, my brother was like my entry point into it, and he was someone that like he loved it, and I think there's so many fans that loved it during that time that fell off of it.
Yeah,
That us fans, like, not that it should be our duty to do it, but I think there's so much good wrestling that those people are missing because there's stuff that they would really gravitate towards if they just consumed it. And it's about getting their feet back in there. And we talk about it all the time. There's people that stop watching and something draws them back for a reason. And all of
yeah.
a sudden they're all in, whether it be work rate or whether it be this like eccentric character, something brings them back. And I think if you have an initial love for wrestling at any point in your life, if you give it another chance, you probably will find yourself watching on a weekly basis again. It's like an addicting drug.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because how I got my wife started watching. Well, she's not watching. She doesn't watch it religiously, but like when we first started dating and stuff like that, I was watching it at the time, and she got back into it because it was a Monday Night Raw, and I remember it was like I think RVD was on. He made an appearance. It was like a while back. It was like, oh my god, almost 10 years ago. But it was like she's seen all these people that she's seen when she was
Right.
watching it at the time, like, oh my god, Jerry King Lawler's still there. Oh my god, this guy's still there. Oh my god, this. And I was like, yeah, they're not, wrestling all the time, but they make appearances. So like that got her like back into it. And then obviously Total Divas debuted, and
Mm.
that brought a lot of like casual fans into it, a lot of women into it anyway. And that helped out a lot. So it just seems like now they're not really doing anything as far as bringing the casual fan in, and besides like, bringing the Logan Pauls in and,
Yeah.
Bad Bunny and all that stuff, but they come in and then they're gone. So they're not really sticking around for the thing. So they get those casual fans in that one event, and then they all disappear, hoping that it'll like
Right.
tack them on. But I don't know their numbers or anything like that. I could be wrong. They could be just garnering a bunch of fans when that happens, but I don't see it anyway. But anyway, as far as we talked obviously a ton about wrestling. What other things are you into? You said baseball earlier.
Oh
You're
yeah.
huge baseball fan.
So I'm a diehard baseball. I love all sports. Hockey. I was a partial season ticket holder for the New York Islanders for many years, so I'm a huge fan. They are, disappointing at times, but that's a different story. But I love sports in general. Like if I had another passion, podcasting about baseball would probably be my close second. I do enjoy listening and talking baseball. John Boy Media, I think they do a fantastic job. But I have a fantasy baseball league that is just absolutely just awesome. And recently, based on a vacant slot, Matt from Extra Cooler joined with us.
Oh, nice.
And he kind of blended both worlds where like we do a live draft every year. It's a keeper league where you keep prospects. So you have to be really in the know. And so even with the Yankees being bad this year, not making the playoffs, it keeps you invested in the product of baseball. And to me, I think it's one of the best sports on earth. I think if people similar to the history part, as I referenced before, I think the history of the game is something that is leaned so far into, and comparing numbers of the current day for the people that came before him, whether it be within franchise or just like season, look at Aaron Judge season from a year ago, just seeing where he was and comparing it to all the names. And like, you're seeing Babe Ruth pop up and Lou Gehrig and all. I just love that part about baseball. And I just think the game to me is in a really good spot with young talent. I love following prospects, their path to the major leagues, and making sort of myself aware, listening to the fantasy baseball part of it, but also just awareness of who's going to be good, the scouting piece of it. First of all, I would love to work in baseball in some capacity. It's just hard to dedicate yourself into two different things at the time.
Yeah.
Because just as passionate as people are about wrestling, baseball is a 365 thing for a lot of fans too. That's their thing. But sports in general, like I'm a Packers fan, so I watch them on every Sunday. I would say that I'm probably out of all sports, football is my most casual. Like I just enjoy the sport watching.
Yeah. Yep.
But baseball, most diehard. And then like, as far as like passionate fan base, the Islanders are just absolutely my team. And I have a seat from the original Coliseum in here
Oh,
with me.
really?
So when it closed down into that, originally when it closed down in 2015, I was, I bought one of the seats and I have it here with me. So it's here. And I like to think about all the history that witnessed, the 4 straight Stanley Cups, and before my time, of course, but I was at some of the more meaningful games. The last game that ever played at the Coliseum with Beauvillier scoring the OT goal against the Tampa Bay Lightning in the Eastern Conference Finals. I was at the Pulak blocking the shot game, Tavares when he scored at Barclays Center to win their first playoff series since '93. I'm, diehard in that capacity. But like I said, wrestling with the podcasting and working independence, it's hard to dedicate the equal amount of time to all these things.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say my father, just to get to the next question, my father was a huge baseball fan. I have like he's baseball card collector, all that stuff. I have like all pretty much. I mean, I pretty much have his whole collection. And he loved it because he liked the pacing of it. He himself wasn't he wasn't like my father's from the South. Um, you know, he's born in Mississippi, raised in Arkansas. So like in the South, it's more relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
There's no rush. There's like you're not like up east where like we're running around everywhere and we're trying to get to get to where we're going. Where that's why he loved baseball was the obviously no time limits. So it was the patience of it, the pitching, the batting, everything about it he loved because there was no rush to get things done. Essentially, like obviously you have your your innings, but at the same time, there's no the batter has to pick his swing, the pitcher has to the pitch the way he or she's supposed to. I should say, what is it for you? What is it about baseball that you love the most?
Definitely is the pacing, as you referenced. Like it's one of those sports you can pop on the radio or have it on the background and be able to stay attuned to what's going on. It's definitely one of those things that they say. I mean, it's cliche, but it's the soundtrack of everyone's summer. Like I just remember all the memories I've had of the Yankee teams I'd have in the background with barbecues and at people's houses. It just was always there. And I also love the strategic nature of whether it be putting fielders in the right spot. I know the shift is something that's being banned now, but like putting fielders and shifting outfielders based on metrics and studying tendencies of batters. I love that. And you mentioned pitching as well, watching the science of pitching and changing the way balls are held and arm angle and all of that. I'm just fascinated by just the advanced metrics of baseball now. And sometimes there's an inundation of information that becomes over the top and it's almost too much information, where a lot of the old school foundational baseball minds would say it's about feel, it's about gut. But we have so much information now that this young talent, I look at the Dodgers, they're so good. They're an embarrassment of riches because they have the both things. They have the money to spend on free agency and they have the best front office in baseball and scouting, where they're able to fill their farm system and then fill it up with, next man up. So if anyone gets hurt, if Mookie Betts gets hurt, they're able to pop someone in the outfield and he's, ready to play. And they have one of the best prospect systems in all of baseball for the longest period of time. And they're not going to be bad anytime soon. And you can watch teams that have made, decisions in the past, like, the Yankees for so long were signing free agents, and the Sox were one of those teams as well, where they would sign free agents and it'd be like kind of damnation on the future. We don't care. We want to win now. You can't really do that anymore. It's about building for the future and putting foundations in place. You can't buy a championship like you could in the past, where the Yankees in 09 probably were the last team to do that. But like CC and Teixeira and AJ Burnett, like that team that was put together pretty much with a pocketbook. You have to put a team together, as we see this year. Like the Yankees have talent. They spend a lot of money. They don't have the highest payroll in baseball. Look at the Mets. The Mets have the highest payroll in baseball and they can't make the playoffs. So it's a mind game. And it really is, the smaller market teams can find a way to find advantages and consistently compete. And they put things in place for that, but it's also getting scouts and getting people that understand the way the game works and can assess talent. And like, to me, that's fascinating because it's way more than just happening in between the lines. It's happening outside, and it's a constant conversation about building and assessing talent.
Yeah, you can say that. You can say that about a lot of sports. Well, I mean, basketball in particular, with like building.
Yeah, they're cutting edge too, for sure.
Yeah, there's no guarantee in putting all these guys on a team and you're going to win a championship. they still have to play together and they still have to gel well. Like you can make a
Yeah.
team with like, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Steph Curry, and be like, oh on paper, yeah, dude, they're definitely season's over. They go in, 82-0. No one's ever going to beat them. But are they going to play well together? They're going to pass the ball. Are they going to, be mindful of each other's skill set? You could buy, like you said, you could buy whatever team you want, but in the end, it might not, it might not pan out that way because they still have to, work in sync with each other, and they may not gel well. So you are right about that.
It's one of those things with baseball and other sports, like you said. Like I think it's really hard to keep pace unless you keep up with the latest data. And we watch down the line, like they put these super teams together. And of course, NBA is the biggest example of it when you
Yeah.
toss in these superstars in place. And like you kind of almost need two superstars to win a championship at this point, and then put the pieces around it.
Yep.
But with baseball, we watched San Diego Padres to put together what was considered a super team with all this talent. And there was a great article, The Athletic, which I subscribe to, which is fantastic. Got podcasts and they also have articles about the institutional failure of the organization from the bottom to the top, where even though on the surface it looks like they have one of the best teams, it's just they can't put the depth in place, and they're being propped up by this foundation that's flawed. And it's just fascinating to me because you can't just hide it with putting lipstick on something that doesn't have integrity. And that's something the Padres need to work on. And same thing with the Yankees. Like the Yankees have a lot to work on in the offseason because you can't just throw money at Aaron Judge and hopefully he brings everybody up. It's you got to have 8 other guys that have to produce, and pitchers as well.
Yeah, I think if I'm going to compare it to compare that that topic to us as a Pod Foundation, I think we all gel well with each other. You could put any one of us on a show
for sure.
I think we'll all be pretty good, and it's happened as you see. There's a lot of shows that are happening now where it's just like you just mix and match and they work for some reason.
Absolutely,
which is pretty great. So we don't have those problems like the sports scenes. We can get those things done ourselves. But so for baseball and stuff like that, are you a movie buff? Are you a music nerd? Are you like what other things are you obsessed with?
So I like to go to shows, music shows. So some pop punk bands, post hardcore bands. One of my favorite bands, The Wonder Years. Anytime they're in town, I go and see them. Last time I went, I believe I got COVID from it because I was right in the mosh pit. So that was fun. But yeah, anytime they're in town, I've seen them about 16 times. But every band that I like, I try my best to see them. Like bands like Hot Mulligan, Turnover, Spanish Love Songs are coming to town. I like shows that are general admission. I like to get into like the pit and like feel the energy of the crowd. And like, that's something I really miss for during the pandemic, like not going to shows and wrestling events, but concerts too. The energy, it's therapeutic to be out there and sing the songs that you like and experience them with people that are like-minded, know every single word, every single chord of the song. But that's the type of music I enjoy. I love like pop punk and that type of post-hardcore stuff.
Are you are you a movie buff at all? Do you watch movies? Are you a fan of any genres or anything like that?
I've seen like the big ticket stuff. I wouldn't consider myself like a movie buff, but I've seen pretty much the big ticket movies that come out. And I like comedies, like some of my favorite movies, like, Wedding Crashers, Superbad, that type
Classic.
of stuff. Dodgeball. I think I just like Vince Vaughn. I think Vince Vaughn is one of my favorites.
I love it. That's funny. I love Vince Vaughn, man. He's like, yeah, dude, Dodgeball is like one of the funniest movies. If anyone hasn't seen it, definitely go see.
Dude, it almost came out 20 years ago, 2004.
Yeah. And
Crazy.
I was going to say, like, most of those movies, those comedies back then, they're probably going to stay back then because they definitely won't be able to make any of those nowadays. So definitely, if you definitely go out of your way to watch those. But let me go. I want to skip back a little bit because you brought up mosh pits, and one of my old coworkers, he was into punk rock, all that stuff. And he would, we got along really, really well. I don't know how, but we just did. But he would go to like a lot of shows. Like he was from New Hampshire, and he'd go to a lot of like local shows and stuff like that. And he would tell me stories of just people beating the shit out of each other in mosh pits. And I'm like, you were in these? I'm like, yeah. So he pulls out his phone and he showed me like videos of like his friend we'll be filming him in a mosh pit. It's just literally just fist fighting. Like. So he got knocked out before. That's what I was getting to. Like he's been like, he got dropped. He dropped a few people before, not on purpose, obviously. They're not,
right.
It wasn't a fight, But like, has that happened to you at all? Have you ever been knocked out or knocked somebody out in a
Not
mosh
knocked
pit?
out, but I definitely got my nose bloodied before by like not even just like people in the mosh pit where they're like bouncing around because that's just like kinetic energy and you kind of got to keep your head on a swivel, making sure because I don't think I mean there might be a case. The shows I go to, there's not really anyone has an intention to hurt anybody. There are
Yeah.
hardcore shows you go to that people are out to do that, which is hopefully they're eliminated from the scene.
Yeah.
But as far as like the most time I would ever get hurt would be someone going up to what is it to get on top of the crowd surf and they would go to crowd surf and like their leg would hit and like if you're not expecting someone to come behind you and lay on top of you, that's like when I was seeing the Wonder Years as I referenced in the city, it was two Sundays ago at this point, there people were doing that and if you stand in the front, I was like in the third row, you have to expect that people are going to be coming up over the top of you.
Oh yeah.
And that was like pretty much nonstop. So that's the type of stuff that you can get hurt doing. And there's some horror stories, obviously, of people doing that. If they're not prepared or something crazy happens. But yeah, when you're out there, I mean, like I said, I'm going to be 35, so I try my best to stay out of the full mix of things. I try to just get close to the stage, but you just got to make sure you keep your space and like make sure you have your head on a swivel for sure.
Yeah, I seen. He like I said, he showed me a bunch of videos of him and his buddies. Obviously, they record each other in it, and I was gonna go with him once, and I was like, you know what? I was like, nah, not my scene. I was like, I'm not gonna get involved in any. I was like, if I get hit, I'll probably like first I'll probably cry, and then I'll probably just get beat up because I cried in the middle of in the middle of the show or something. But yeah, man, just like. I was just watching that stuff. So wait a minute. So let me get this straight. So you'll enter a mosh pit, right?
Yes.
But you will not take any bumps in the wrestling ring.
I didn't say no. It's an
hesitating.
insurance thing for the remarkable school. Like
Yeah.
I want to make sure that they're clear because like I think the way it goes is New York State, and I'm not sure if it's the same for I don't think every state has to do this, but for New York State, the athletic commission, you have to be checked out by a doctor before you athletically compete.
Yeah.
That's not the same for Jersey. I don't think it's the same for Massachusetts. You could just run the show without an ambulance, no doctor.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things where like, I don't know. I want to make sure that I have an idea. Like personally, I want it to be, I have a great idea in my mind. I have the person I want to work with doing it. I remember the Daniel Bryan stuff with Justin Roberts. I want that exact scenario where someone's choking me with the tie during chaos. I want it to be Dominic De Niro. I think it would be fantastic. And there was a perfect opportunity when they're building up the War Games match and it's chaos at the end. All the teams are out there. It would have been the perfect opportunity to do it, but I was still sort of new. Yeah. Now, if they have anything like that, maybe they bring the War Games back this February. I'll shoot my shot to see if I can have that spot.
Yeah, I definitely have to see because you said it's going to be here in October 21st in Massachusetts.
So I'll be in October 21st in Amesbury. I'm not sure how far Amesbury is for the show called Power Transfer. So for Rad Pro, I'll just explain that for a sec for people. I don't know if they're like everyone, it's a different concept for sure. It's similar to Chikara where every talent that comes in, they live in this universe specifically. So they might be local talent, but for example, Leo Sparrow, he works for Creative Pro. He works all these different spots. Yep. He's Blossom Oak in Rad Pro Wrestling. So
that's right.
They have different characters, and I have a different character. I'm Fred Vernon. I'm at Acefield Retro there. So you have to exist in 1994. It's a time lapse where like if you're on commentary, you have to keep in mind like it's the baseball strike. It's not, you have to keep things in perspective. That's where cool. It's kind of immersing yourself in a timeline, which is really fun. But that show's happening 10/21, and then on 12/2, which is December 2nd, we have Forever Rad, which is going to be the season finale of 1994, and they're going to move into 1995. And I'm pretty sure Rad Pro is going to be a part of Restival that's happening at the end for New Year. I think their show's on New Year's Eve, so it remains to be seen if I'll be there for it. But that's in Worcester as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I might have to actually go out there.
How far is Amesbury from you?
Probably like maybe 30 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad. It's like a 5-hour drive for me. So
yeah, no, definitely no. Definitely I want to start going to a lot more local organizations around here because it's like you said, once you start going, you start getting the bug, and you just want to see how other performances happen and stuff. Especially sitting in front row, very interactive.
Oh yeah,
you get to interact with them. They're it's a fun time, man. It's definitely a different pace from the TV wrestling, as I call it.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
I would recommend on every Thursday forever. Wrestling Open. They did run it at the White Eagle in Worcester, so that's also
Yeah.
that might be close to you, but that's something they do, and it's cheap tickets. Fantastic talent. Like I said, I mentioned some of the dudes from Remarkable work there, whether it be Percy Ryan, Desmond Cole. But I mean, Alec Price is there, Ichiban, like they kill it. And they're on IWTV. If you guys can't get there in person, you should check it out on IWTV. They run it Thursday. It's must see TV, and some of the best talent in the world are coming through Worcester. And like I said, it's a hot spot for pro wrestling.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like I said, it's a kind of like I'm not saying it's a boom period, but like I said, I've started to see a lot more local shows, like the one I went to few, actually it was last month. No, yeah, in August I went in Everett, the Chaotic Wrestling. They did a show at Night Shift Brewing. Because at Night Shift they have like an outside, like a big outside area. They set up a ring and chairs and all that stuff. And actually one of the workers there got involved at the end of the match, which is actually pretty
Nice.
cool the way they did it. I was like, holy crap, he's my buddy's like I call him like an ambassador for Night Shift Brewing, because he's literally there, like he's there every week. He actually bought them like this little like stuffed owl, and they have it like if you walk in and you're ordering your beer, it's up on there, like it's like a shelf area. You can actually see it sitting up there. So like he's like he has an end with all those guys. But I just thought it was cool actually seeing one of the servers there actually show up at the end of the show. I was like he was just, I was like, what the hell?
That's funny.
Had,
I definitely should check it out. Like I said, I'll be in Amesbury, so maybe it's on the way back. I'll pick up like a 6-pack or something from
definitely
for sure.
It's awesome. Yeah, no, definitely. Especially if I go out there, you could definitely hang out or something. That'd be pretty cool.
100%. Yeah, I definitely we made a day of it. Like I stayed there the night before just so I don't have to drive in the morning.
Yeah.
And we hung out in Amesbury. I was trying to become familiar with the town. There's like coffee shops and restaurants and stuff, but it's about 15, 20 minutes, maybe a little bit more than that from Worcester. I was trying to gauge it from dropping there. It's pretty out there, Amesbury.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, like I said, it's not too. I mean, it's not too far from me, but obviously a drive for you in that sense. But what do you see as the future of Acefield Retro? Are you looking to like expand even bigger? Are you trying to? Have you thought that far ahead, or are you just like right now, just kind of like you said, doing now, like doing a lot of like the announcing and stuff like that, doing obviously Turnbuckle Tavern, doing those shows. Is there anything more that you're trying to accomplish, or is it too early to tell for you?
So I'm making a list of goals I have for 2024, and some of it has working with 2 new promotions, and that's a goal I'm setting for myself, that I want to work, whether it be a promotion that's within driving distance or right in my backyard. I want it to be something that, also want to set up maybe wrestling. I mean, working with a company during WrestleMania weekend in Philly. I'm not sure if Remarkable is planning on running a show closer to that weekend, but I want to be able to be a part of that in 2024. That's in the immediate, but really like what started as, and actually, if people notice on my Instagram, I took out wrestling podcast out of the logo because I had just an idea that like, it's not just a wrestling podcast. And I really don't just do the podcasting on my own channel anymore. I was doing these interviews. My last interview was with Paul Laurier, which was awesome. He was a great conversation, but I posted on the tavern anyway. And I want to put all my effort and energy into building the tavern, helping build it to a new level where I think posting on my own, doing the Acefield Retro show, it was almost counterintuitive than putting the effort back into the tavern. I wanted to make sure that I was putting maximum effort as far as podcasting go into building the tavern brand, because I think that already, for me, that being bigger can lift our voices to get to more ears and make sure people understand that, there's a passionate group over here that loves wrestling. So the Acefield Retro thing is like my gimmick now. It's just my wrestling persona. And then at this point, my podcasting is going to live on the Turnbuckle Tavern.
Awesome. That's so is there any, are you gonna like, barbershop any one of us and just go on your just barbershop the tavern and just split off, or do you see yourself with the tavern for technically for the foreseeable future, if you want to say that?
I definitely want to stay with the tavern. I think my goals align with the Two Bad Chads and everybody else here. I think the vehicle helps everybody. Like if the brand of the tavern's bigger than Acefield Retro itself, so it helps everybody. So if we can all help build this brand around us and get the tavern to be synonymous with pro wrestling conversation. Like I think it would be really cool down the line. Like I think everyone makes it, we're making jokes about Hawk being recognized at that show in Indiana, but
Yeah.
it's damn cool. Like, and people that come
Yeah.
up to me at the VPW shows at the media table and they say like, I listened to this show or I saw you announce here. Like that's kind of surreal to me. And I want to get to a point where we are kind of synonymous, like I said, with pro wrestling and having opinions and being this, vehicle for people to get their consumption and understand what's going on in the world of wrestling. Cause I think what the tavern has done best is the consistency part. And like you said,
Yeah.
there's been people that have taken breaks. There's been people that need time off for busy schedules, and that's okay. But I think the large group can keep it going
Yeah.
while those breaks are being had. And as you see with wrestling podcasts, how many do we see drop off because of timing? And they're like, I'm taking a hiatus. I'm doing this. The tavern's
Yep.
never going to do that. As long as I have a say, like I
Yeah.
don't want that ever being the case. I want to consistently churn out content because that's how you keep eyes on it. Because as soon as you become dormant, then the eyes disappear and go elsewhere. So once you
Yep.
have people captivated by what you're saying, you want to capitalize on it.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's one of the things, just working with the Chads and working with you and everyone is is a consistency part of things. And that's where, that's where we kind of got the idea from, Seth and Jordan doing the Pod Warriors show. And then me, reaching out to Sheena saying, hey, I want to do like, I know we don't do interviews on the Chick Foley show, but, what do you think about me just, doing interviews? That's like, reaching out to people and, kind of, having that, like I said, it's the Chick Foley show presents open mic. So it has that aspect to it. It's just obviously me doing the interviews and, like you said, if you're not consistent in that sense, then, like you said, eyes and ears are going to go somewhere else. And, definitely thankful for the platform. I mean, to be on two different platforms, to be
For
on,
sure.
the Turnbuckle feed and being on the Chick Foley feed. So like trying to, like I said, bridge that gap, be that like, be like kind of like the forbidden door essentially, and
Right.
showing that it can work. It's not like, I'm, leaving one and going to the other. It's like, we're all pretty much on the same playing field, obviously with the Pod Foundation and stuff like that. We all try to, the whole idea behind the Pod Foundation was us trying to help each other out and trying to lift each other up and trying to cross promote. And, if something happens, someone goes viral, something gets, big, it just helps everybody. Like, you know, that's how, I mean,
Absolutely.
that's how it should go anyway.
Yeah, and I'm just realizing now that this is my infinity stone of the Pod Foundation. This is my first debut on the Chick Foley show. So been on
Oh,
Extra
nice.
Cooler, coming down the aisle, obviously Turnbuckle Tavern here at Chick Foley. So, and also, I mean, we got to give a lot of credit to Sheena.
Yeah,
She
definitely.
drove this, and I think standing on her shoulders is what she established with her brand prior to everybody. And I love the origin story about the Chick Foley show, and I have so much respect for the brand that you guys built over there, and just the conversation and really the fan base. I love the episodes you guys drop and the unique twist on things, whether it be Pod Warriors or even like the Goal Line show now.
Yep.
Chick Foley in its own right are pioneers of the podcasting world because they were doing things, you guys were doing things prior to, the tavern existing and us all working together, similar to what the conversation was about AEW and WWE working together. It helps everybody to have the tie-in of, yeah, Sheen has a lot of followers on Instagram and she has
Yep.
a following that she's earned and deserves, and
Yep.
she's grinded to get that. And we're only helped by that because now we're associated. Anytime she drops our name on the Chick Foley show or Extra Cooler drops our name or J-Bone drops our name, it's just another person that
Yep.
might be listening and they'll tune into us, and it just helps everybody.
Yeah, and I always try to, pretty much every episode, especially when I'm, when I have the ladies on here or any, that's one of the main reasons too I wanted to do the show was like give like a voice to the women out there that are, talk content creators and stuff like that. Like Sheena. Because when I talked to Wrestling Classic about this and when back in 2014, it was literally just like, Sheena and then like him, I think Extra Cooler, and then there was a few other people. There weren't many wrestling oriented like social media
Right.
pages out there. It was very little. So at the beginning, they were all helping each other out. Like Sheena bought, the Wrestling Classic T-shirt. She wore it, posted on her Instagram, and he would do the same thing for her. And then, she helped, Nick with his art and stuff like that. And they all kind of like boosted each other up. So I always try to I always try to give her a props every episode, especially like I said, if I do have a woman on there or a lady that's in, in the collecting realm, in the wrestling realm. I always try to say like, hey, you know, Sheena's the one that like started me on this. So like,
Yeah, for
and then
sure.
and that's kind of like my gateway. I was actually just saying, actually, no, that's a good question. Before I go to my last question for you, do you think we'll ever in the tavern? Obviously we have Sheena. She's the first lady of the Pod Foundation. Do you think there would ever be another? Was there any scouting for another like woman to be in the tavern? Because there hasn't been a tavern specific like lady
Uh,
present.
I would say the opportunity is always there because, like, I just look at Colton's origin story where he called in. He had an idea. I believe he was defending Dom Mysterio, or I forget how it was now, but his conversation or his voicemail he left on the flagship was so entertaining that they asked him to come on the debate. So I guess hypothetically, if there is a wrestling fan that's out there that happens to be female that
Yeah.
finds a way. I mean, we've had, individuals on the debate. I think I forget the girl that she likes New Japan Pro Wrestling. That
Oh,
is her,
Marie Shadows. Yeah, I
exactly.
interviewed
Marie
her.
Shadows was on
Yeah,
here.
she's
So
awesome.
I mean, I would be open to her working with us and do a New Japan show if she had the time. Like that'd be cool. Really, the thing is, what's really awesome about the Two Bad Chads is like giving the creativity and flexibility for everybody to have their own idea and run with it, and the autonomy to work on things that you're passionate about, as long as it aligns with really what the values of the tavern are. Just making sure that we are kind of staying on board and that never micromanage ever. Like it's always just like your own unfiltered thoughts, as long as it falls into a line with making sure we're not going to be canceled on the channel, that they're going to,
Yeah.
you know, that's why it was always gnarly to get Hawk out there and put him
Oh
on
my
a
god.
show. But I would say it's a possibility. I think, as you mentioned, wrestling's becoming more inclusive. Women's wrestling has certainly taken such
Yeah.
large steps since 2014, when Chick Foley show started. Just in that period of time, in 10 years, 9 years, I think women's wrestling has come such a long way with WWE and Impact Wrestling and AEW. And so I think there's a lot of women that are fans of wrestling. If they want to get
Yeah.
on a podcast and talk about it, it's certainly something I would be definitely welcome with open arms.
Yeah, I see. There's a ton out there. There's like I said, like I said, I interviewed here Liz already.
Who's the
There's
girl,
G.
the cosplayer too, that she dresses up as?
Over the moonsault.
Oh,
She's
she's
she was
awesome.
on
Yeah,
the debate too as well. They had her
she's
on there
fantastic.
before. You have Gigi for the win. That's another one out
Hmm.
there. All Elite Keeks. I want to get her actually on the show. She just talks about AEW. So I'd be like, I kind of want to bring her in just to see, what her thoughts are, and then kind of hand her over and have her on the debate.
For sure.
See how that would go. So like that's how Marie Shadows, when she was on my show, that Chad reached out and was like, hey, he said, you think she'll do the debate? I was like, yeah, I don't see why not. And then, the rest is history. But yeah, just like I said, just to get more female voices on here, because she held it down for long enough. I think she, we need to pass a torch essentially, just like just like they do in wrestling. You have the vet, you have the legend, and then they pass the torch on. I'm not
Yeah,
sure
but
if she'd want to, but
nah,
um,
we love her having her voice here and listening to what her thoughts are. I always love what they drop there, and shout out to Seth too. They do such a great job of what the content that they bring on a weekly basis. And
yeah,
same thing. I mean, the whole pod fan. I know we continue to put them over, but like the extra cooler crew is just fantastic, and everyone brings a different style. And J Bone brings a different style to what we all have, and just having the like. I always have something to listen to as well. That's the other beautiful thing. I can always rely on the Pod Foundation to have something. If I have a long drive, I could put on a wrestling podcast that's relevant to today. And that's, go back 5 years ago, that wasn't the case.
yeah, no, definitely, and like you said, it's I know we always we're putting each other over and stuff like that, but it really is like it's great in the sense that not only do we all love professional wrestling. We all love creating content, stuff like that. The best thing about it is like the meeting, like us meeting each other and all us being kind of like, long distance, friends essentially, and having
Yeah.
these relationships and people you never would have met ever in your life if something like this didn't happen. Like,
It's crazy to think about. And like, I thought about that when I went to Chicago for All Out Weekend, or Brawl Out Weekend, if you will. But like
yeah,
meeting up with Belcaster and Tom, and like meeting up with Hawk, and then seeing them
yeah,
in person, and it's bizarre. And then when I went Young Anthony, and like these are people that you would run into in the street and never know, but like it feels like we know each other intimately
Yeah.
at this point, because like we see each other more than you see some of your friends that like
Yep.
that live close by to you.
No, it's true. Yeah, and we talked about that. Me and Jay. Well, when J Bone came up, to Boston, we like we hung up like 2 hours, I think, before like we like met up like before the game started, and we went to we went to this restaurant. It was me, my wife, him, and his wife, and his brother, and I think his brother's wife,
Hmm.
and we just like we never like obviously we haven't seen each other like in person, but like it
Right.
was like we never it didn't even matter. It was just like, it was like, oh hey J Bone, and then we just sat down, you know, drank something, ate something, and chatted up, and like it was never like it wasn't any nervousness at all. It was just like it was just the only nervousness was like, oh, I'm actually seeing this person like in real life. But other than that, it just felt like just like another
Yeah.
like hangout session, which is weird, dude. Very strange.
And
But
it's beautiful. I mean, think about it. It's men in tights that have created that dynamic where we foster these relationships from this passion of pro wrestling, and it's so beautiful
yeah,
because like you said, these people were never going to know. We wouldn't have known, and future people like think about the bridge in the gap. Like you're in Massachusetts, I'm on Long Island, and
yep,
J Bone's in Louisiana, and
yeah,
Bellcaster's in Chicago, and Chad's are in West Virginia. Like just that alone, being able to like connect the dots with people that and meet up for shows and have conversation about wrestling. It's just it's crazy, but really awesome.
Let me so the last question I always leave off if you listen to the show. The last question is always it's a hard one. It can be hard. A lot of people like to pick two or three, but we kind of talked about this earlier where you have the people that drop off of wrestling. They might have been wrestling fans before, they stopped watching at some point. Um what match or I'm gonna kind of elevate it. What match, what storyline and match they have to run concurrent would you show to a person that dropped off of wrestling to bring them right back into wrestling? Could be past, you know, present, anyone. Like it could be way in the past. Um, what storyline and match? Because I think it's when I say match, it's like you have to have a build. So I want the build to the match, and it has to be the result is the match. What would you show that person to say, hey, I know you're out of wrestling, but this right here, this is gonna fucking bring you back. No
All right, so
questions asked.
for recency, I would say Sami Zayn, Roman Reigns, Elimination Chamber in Montreal. Just the electricity in that crowd.
Okay.
Finish be damned, whatever. Was it the right decision? Was it the wrong? Who cares? Just the atmosphere there would. How could you not be caught up in what was happening there? So if I had someone who's never experienced pro wrestling, I
Yeah.
would show them that match, show how electric it was, how over Sammy was, how despised Roman was. That's wrestling in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Other matches, like if someone's never seen wrestling, I would want to show them like Hogan Rock WrestleMania 18. I think that has the electricity that you're looking for, palpable, that they don't do a lot. Like if you watch the match on mute, they don't do a lot of things, but the storytelling is
No.
magnificent with the facials and all that. But I also, to give AEW some love, I was in the building for it. Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega was the most
Oh
electric I've been
man.
in the building for a wrestling match. And I've been at WrestleManias, I've been at SummerSlams. That was the most like tangible, like you could almost see it hanging in the air. And for me, I mean, the fact that Danielson and Omega are two of my favorites of all time, linking up, just the electric. I mean, it's about the moment, and that
Yeah.
created one for me, and I'll always remember it.
Oh yeah. No. That for like for sure was a definite dream match that they could have definitely made a lot of money off of if they put it on a pay per view. But Tony was like, you know what? Let's put it on TV for free. I was going to say that or Brian and Hangman as well. Um, when they went to the limit, that was pretty awesome as
Oh,
well.
that was awesome.
Yeah, the only other the only Rucker from Boot to the Face. He's the only one on this show that's picked the Hogan Rock match. And he said, we had a conversation about Hogan and stuff like that. But he says, he's like, for what it's worth, like, say what you want about Hogan. He's like, that match right there, like, if you want to show somebody that's not a wrestling fan, um, a match, like a wrestling match, show them that. Show them the build to that, and then show them that match, and they'll get exactly what professional wrestling is. Like it's not obviously they're not doing flips, they're not doing anything crazy. Like you said, it's facial expressions. It's just it's a slow pace. They take their time in the match. The crowd obviously is like insane. Like
Yeah.
they flip from cheering Hogan to booing him at one point, cheering The Rock to booing The Rock. It's like it's all encompassing. And then if you watch the build, like the packaging for it, like who The Rock is, obviously, who Hulk Hogan is, and now you have these two icons going at it. That's a perfect way to I think to bring somebody in. So you're the second person that brought that matchup.
Yeah, I think wrestling is about moments. I love work rate. Like that's me. I love watching the technical side of things, the Kurt Angles and the Bryan Danielsons. That side of wrestling for me is just where it's at. But if you want to, the question is driven towards bringing in someone who doesn't like wrestling, hasn't watched wrestling. I think it's important to capture two things. It's the energy of the crowd and the atmosphere, and it's also well-defined characters. And there's no one more well-defined nowadays than Roman Reigns. He's someone that's so who
Yeah.
he is. How like just watching him once, exactly who his character is. He's the man. He's the guy who carries his company on his shoulders. And then even like watching the match with Sammy, it was the perfect encapsulation of what pro wrestling could be. And I understand it's Elimination Chamber and the ending left people sour. Same thing with Cody and Roman too at WrestleMania. That moment, despite the ending, you just watch very rarely, like watching that Mania, I felt like a kid again. And it's very rare that wrestling can do that to you, where you sit and you're watching with people. And I was watching with the Remarkable crew, and like the whole place was just like, it was buzzing for Cody's entrance. And, -1 is out there, Brody Jr. And like all that is just, you can't recreate. It's a moment in time and some of the best wrestling moments. And that's where you see the vision of the sports entertainment piece of it, that you understand why they sacrifice work rate a lot of ways, because you get the moment, but like you get the best of both worlds. There's a world where you can have the Sammy match and Roman was very good too. That's the other piece of it, and it had the atmosphere piece. So those are two big pieces that you want to have and check both boxes.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think we'll end it. I think we'll end it there. You know what? I'm gonna say thank you for joining. This was great. Like I said, this is the first time we actually got to sit down and talk one-on-one and talk actually like have a conversation about about wrestling, as opposed to talk about like the actual like product and what's going on and things like that. And I definitely look forward to hopefully working with you again at some point on the tavern. I know there's a lot of opportunities because you can just hop on whenever you want on some of the wrap-up shows. I think I might start doing that. I always see it. I'm like, damn, I wish I could jump on, but obviously some things always usually happen.
Oh yeah, life is busy.
Yeah, but yeah, no, definitely thank you for showing up, and definitely want to give you your credit. Like I said at the beginning of the show, when I introduced you, I think definitely you are like one of the workhorses. I think you could definitely make an argument for other people, but like I said, you do a lot. You do more shows than anyone that I can think of on the tavern right now. Besides like Fig Night, you're pretty much like on a lot of the shows.
Yeah, I do appreciate that, dude. And like really just the idea of just the opportunity to talk wrestling with different people, and the open door for Shot Nostalgia. If you'd like to pick a Saturday Night's Main Event episode that you want, and just let me know. I put that out in the tavern chat. So we are taking a hiatus after this season, so it's going to be a 30-week break. So this is the opportunity to, if there's a Saturday Night's Main Event episode we're about to jump into 88, but from 88 until even the ones they renewed in 08, and let me know. You could pop on with us. And it's crazy how Shot Nostalgia almost creates situations. Like we're going to get the return on NBC again, like just with this TV deal. I'm like,
yeah,
it's insane how like that's happening now that we're covering it. It's kind of crazy.
That's now you have some more stuff to cover.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
we got to reignite the season.
So it looks like it's like a multi-year deal that's going to be happening. So
yeah, it said four episodes of Saturday Night's Main Event on NBC. So
that's insane. That's insane to think about. Actually,
can you imagine it? I hope they leave the same presentation. And we were talking about it on Wrestling Tonight. Maybe with obviously USA has SmackDown, it's not a guarantee that they leave Raw from SmackDown, but I don't think they're going to pay for both. So that means that Raw's up for grabs, whether they go to me, I think it's a non-traditional streaming platform. It's going to be Netflix, Amazon, maybe even Apple TV, something like that wants to use something that's consistent and driven, that brings eyes to whatever they're trying to do. But we'll see, man, because they are trendsetters. I think WWE continues to set the trend about what's next. The network was game-changing for everybody, even for media, not just for wrestling, for entertainment at large. Like, think about 10 years ago that they had the foresight to say, we're going to put streaming for $9.99. That's unheard of. They're going to buck the pay-per-view model. They're going to change everything. Everyone laughed at them. Look at it now.
Yeah.
Look at it now.
Insane. Just, yeah, like I said, say what you want, obviously, about Vince McMahon and where he's at mentally and all the jokes about that, but that dude is like you said, he's definitely a visionary.
For sure.
Insane. But like I said, we'll end it here. Again, thank you for being on the show. I definitely love to have you again if you'd like to hop
for sure,
on.
dude. Thank you for coming. Let me know if you can be out in Amesbury. If you come, let me know. We'll link up before or after.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And like I said, I'll probably I wasn't gonna I'll just say it on the show, but I'm gonna start maybe taking the show in like different, not a different direction, but obviously doing like doing interviews, but maybe doing like solo shows or something like that. So, just talking, the in between, obviously if I can't get a guest, I don't want it to like, the show to disappear. So,
right.
I might like, call someone up in the tavern and be like, hey, you want to hop on real quick? And I don't know, just,
hell yeah,
shoot
let me
the
know,
shit
man.
about something that's what pretty much my idea behind it is. So, cause you kind of said it before, once you're not consistent, people go elsewhere. So I don't want it to change in that sense, but just give you a little I'll give everyone a little preview of what's going to probably happen with the open mic thing and some other things I have some ideas for about the show, but we'll end it there. And again, everyone, thank you for listening. If you listened to it for the first time, like I said, last time or a long time, I appreciate it. Either way, definitely check out everybody on the Pod Foundation, at Pod Foundation on IG. That's where you get all the updates. It's back up and running, so that's your one-stop shop for all the new and noteworthy things that are happening with us. But until then, I'll talk to you later.